The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's solar system without warning. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, stretching for miles across space like a floating city made of dark metal and glowing lights. The ship's arrival sent every defense system on Earth into high alert. Commander Sarah stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station, watching the alien vessel through the main screen. She was a tough woman in her 40s, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Years of military service had taught her to stay calm when facing the unknown, but this was different. This was humanity's first contact with aliens. The alien ship had been sitting there for 3 days now, just beyond the orbit of the moon. It made no hostile moves, but it also ignored every attempt at communication. Then, on the 4th day, everything changed. A smaller ship detached from the massive vessel and headed straight for Earth's main orbital station. The humans watched nervously as it docked without asking for permission. The aliens had come to talk. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and the alien ambassador stepped through. Ambassador Ra was tall and thin, with purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. Her face was angular, with large golden eyes that looked down at the humans with barely hidden disgust. She wore flowing robes that sparkled with embedded lights, and her movements were graceful but cold. Behind her came 2 guards in dark armor, carrying weapons that hummed with strange energy. They said nothing as they followed their ambassador into the station's main conference room. Commander met them there, along with Admiral Tours, an older man with gray hair and scars from Earth's old wars. Several other human officials sat around the table, all trying to look confident despite facing their first alien visitors. "I am Ambassador Ra of the Empire," the alien said. Her voice was musical but filled with authority. "I speak for the Galactic Hegemony, the rightful rulers of this galaxy for 10,000 years. The humans exchanged glances. 10,000 years was longer than all of human civilization. "We know about your species now," Ra continued. "You have achieved faster-than-light travel. This means you must follow the Cosmic Codex, the laws that govern all intelligent life in this galaxy." She placed a glowing device on the table. Images appeared in the air above it, showing star maps and alien worlds. 847 species follow these laws. They bring order to the chaos of space. They prevent war. They ensure peace. Commander leaned forward. "What kind of laws are we talking about?" Ra's golden eyes fixed on her. "Complete laws. Your military must be disbanded, your weapons destroyed, your government dissolved. Hegemony governors will rule your worlds. Your people will be relocated as needed for galactic efficiency." The room went silent. Admiral Tours clenched his fists under the table. The other officials looked shocked. "You want us to surrender," said quietly. "I want you to be civilized," Ra replied. "To join the galactic community properly. Many species have resisted before you. 23 of them chose to fight rather than accept wisdom." The holographic display changed, showing dead worlds and empty space where stars had been. "They were," the ambassador continued. "Their stubbornness brought only destruction. Do not make their mistake." Stood up slowly, "And if we refuse?" Ra seemed surprised by the question. "Refuse? You are one small world. We have fleets that span star systems. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. Why would you refuse?" "Because those are our worlds," said. "Our people, our choice." The alien ambassador laughed, a sound like crystal bells breaking. "Choice? You speak like children playing with fire. The Cosmic Codex is not a choice. It is reality. You will submit within 30 standard cycles or face the consequences." Admiral Tours spoke up. 30 days to give up everything we are. That's not much time to consider." "There is nothing to consider," Ra said. "Every species that has achieved space travel faces this moment. Some are wise and submit immediately. Others waste time with questions and protests. But all submit in the end." She gestured to her guards, who stepped forward. "We have been generous with our time. The decision is simple. Join us willingly or be forced to join us. Either way, you will obey." Commander was quiet for a long moment. The other humans waited, watching their leader carefully. Finally, she smiled. It was not a nice smile. "That's cute," she said. "We have our own rules." Ra blinked in confusion. "What did you say?" "I said that's cute. You have your rules, we have ours." His voice was calm but hard as steel. "Our rules say that nobody tells us how to live our lives unless we agree to it." "You cannot be serious," the ambassador said. "You are one world against an entire galaxy." "Maybe," replied, "but that's our choice to make." The alien's purple skin darkened with anger. "You do not understand what you are choosing. We have destroyed civilizations older and more advanced than yours." "I'm sure you have," said, "but you've never fought humans before." Admiral Torres smiled grimly. "Ma'am, should I escort our guests back to their ship?" "That would be polite," answered. "Ambassador, thank you for the warning. Please tell your superiors that Earth appreciates the information about galactic law. We'll consider it carefully." Ra stood up so quickly her chair fell over. "This is madness. You cannot win. No one has ever defeated the hegemony." "Well," said, walking toward the door, "there's a first time for everything." The alien ambassador stared at her for a moment, then swept from the room with her guards following. As their footsteps faded down the corridor, the humans sat in silence. "Sarah," Admiral Torres said quietly, "I hope you know what you're doing." "So do I," she replied. "But I know what happens to people who give up without a fight, and humans don't give up." Through the conference room window, they watched the alien shuttle detach from their station and return to the massive ship. Soon, the great vessel turned and disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying news of humanity's defiance back to the Galactic Empire. Commander activated the communication system that would reach every human colony and space station. "This is Commander to all human forces," she said. "We have 30 days to prepare for war. Get ready." The countdown had begun. Far across the galaxy, on the capital world of the Empire, Ambassador Ra stood before the High Command. The chamber was vast and dark, filled with floating platforms where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made their decisions. Ancient commanders, some over 1,000 years old, listened as she gave her report. "The humans refused," she said, her voice echoing in the massive space. "They actually refused the generous offer to join civilized space." War Marshal, or a veteran of 50 pacification campaigns, made a sound that might have been laughter. "Another primitive species thinks they can fight the hegemony. How refreshing." "What are their military capabilities?" asked Fleet Commander Al, studying holographic displays of human ships and weapons. Ra activated her report files. Images of human spacecraft filled the air around them. Crude but functional. Their largest ships are barely a third the size of our destroyers. Their weapons use simple projectiles and basic energy beams. Nothing we haven't seen before. "Population?" inquired another commander. 12 billion on there, perhaps 20 billion total across their few colonies. A single world species, essentially. The ancient beings murmured among themselves. In 10,000 years of rule, they had faced species with populations in the trillions. 20 billion seemed almost pathetically small. "Their psychology?" asked the eldest of the commanders, Ancient, whose purple skin had faded to almost white with age. "Violent and primitive," Ra replied. "They actually seem proud of their history of warfare. They showed no fear when presented with our superior numbers. I believe they are simply too ignorant to understand their situation." War Marshal nodded. "The same arrogance we've seen before. Species that achieve space travel often think they're invincible. A small demonstration should correct their thinking." "How many ships?" asked Fleet Commander Al. 300 should be more than enough, or replied. Standard pacification doctrine. We arrive, destroy a few of their outposts, and they surrender within hours. Most species crack when they see what real military power looks like. Ancient spoke slowly. You are certain this will be sufficient? Ancient One, we've never needed more than 500 ships for any pacification. These humans have maybe 50 vessels total. 300 ships will seem like an unstoppable force to them. The decision was made quickly. After 10,000 years of rule, the hegemony had pacifying rebellious species down to a simple formula. Send overwhelming force, destroy something important but not vital, accept surrender, install governors. It had worked on every species they had encountered. But the hegemony leadership made a critical mistake. They studied human technology and counted human ships, but they never really studied humans themselves. Meanwhile, back in the Sol system, humanity was proving that they had indeed been preparing for this day. Commander stood in the war room of Terra Command, watching as reports flooded in from across human space. Admiral Torres was at her side, along with General from the Marine Corps and Director from Intelligence. All colonies are responding, reported General. Protocol Defiance is being implemented across the board. Protocol Defiance had been humanity's secret project for 20 years. Ever since achieving faster-than-light travel, human leaders had wondered what would happen when they met other spacefaring species. They hoped for friendship, but planned for war. What's our real strength? Asked. Director smiled grimly. The hegemony scanned our public facilities and our patrol ships. They have no idea about the deep space construction yards. For 20 years, humans had been building ships in hidden locations throughout their space. Asteroid mines that were really weapons factories, research stations that were actually military bases, trading posts that concealed massive supply depots. Ship count? Asked. 800 combat vessels fully operational, Torres replied. Another 300 still in construction but combat ready if needed. The hegemony thought humans had 50 ships. They actually had over 1,000. What about the other projects? Asked. General activated a new display. The AI integration is complete. Every ship now has an artificial intelligence partner. They've been learning hegemony tactics from the database we captured from their ambassador's shuttle. The humans had done something else the hegemony never expected. While Ra was delivering her ultimatum, human technicians had been quietly studying her ship. They planted listening devices, hacked computer systems, and databases. By the time the ambassador left, humans knew more about hegemony military doctrine than most hegemony soldiers. Are the colonies ready? Asked. More than ready, Director replied. Every settlement has been reinforced. Hidden weapon platforms are online. The mining operations have been converted to produce military equipment. But the most important thing humans had done was something the hegemony couldn't understand even if they knew about it. They had prepared their people mentally for war. Unlike most species, humans had never known galactic peace. They had fought each other for thousands of years, survived world wars, and learned hard lessons about freedom and survival. When faced with the choice between submission and fighting, most human populations voted for war by overwhelming margins. What about morale? Asked. General grinned. Admiral, you should see the recruitment centers. We have 10 volunteers for every position available. Young people are lining up to fight aliens who want to conquer Earth. This was perhaps the biggest difference between humans and every other species the hegemony had faced. Other civilizations saw war as a last resort, a terrible tragedy to be avoided. Humans saw this particular war as a chance to defend everything they believed in. Any word from the other species? Asked. Interesting development there, Director said. We've been receiving secret communications. It seems not everyone in the hegemony is happy with rule. The intelligence chief activated another display showing star maps. At least 30 species have reached out through hidden channels. They're offering information about hegemony weaknesses. They want to help us, Tors asked. They want us to win, corrected. Many of them were forced into the hegemony centuries ago. They see us as their chance for freedom. Commander studied the displays showing their preparations. Hidden fleets, secret allies, prepared populations, and advanced technology the enemy knew nothing about. But she also knew they were still outnumbered and 26 days until their deadline, she said quietly. Are we really ready for this? Admiral Tors looked at the data streaming across their screens. Thousands of ships being prepared, millions of humans volunteering to fight, and allies throughout the galaxy secretly hopping for humanity's success. Sarah, he said, we've been ready for this fight our entire history. We just didn't know who we'd be fighting. Across the galaxy, both sides prepared for war. The hegemony prepared for another simple pacification. Humanity prepared for a war that would determine the future of freedom in the galaxy. But only one side truly understood what was coming. Fleet Commander Al stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue world of Earth grow larger on his screens. Behind him, 300 hegemony warships moved in perfect formation through space. Each ship was massive, gleaming with advanced technology that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Standard approach, he commanded his officers. Take position at their outer planet, Jupiter. We make our demonstration there. The hegemony fleet had arrived exactly 30 days after their deadline, just as promised. Al had run 43 pacification campaigns, and they all followed the same pattern. Arrive with overwhelming force, destroy something important, wait for surrender. Usually took less than 6 hours. Sir, his communications officer reported, the humans are trying to contact us. Ignore them, Al replied. They had their chance to talk, now they learn what defiance costs. But as the hegemony fleet moved toward Jupiter, something unexpected happened. Human ships began appearing from everywhere, not just from Earth, but from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Behind asteroids, inside gas clouds, even from inside Jupiter itself. Sir, his tactical officer said nervously, I'm counting over 200 human vessels. That's 4 times more than our intelligence reported. Al frowned. Impossible. They're a single-world species. Those must be cargo ships or civilian craft trying to look dangerous. The human ships moved to meet them in loose formations that seemed almost random. They didn't use the precise battle lines that civilized species preferred. Some ships hung back while others rushed forward. Some flew alone while others clustered together. It looked chaotic to hegemony eyes. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. Put it through, Al commanded. The main screen filled with the image of a human woman in military uniform. Commander sat in what appeared to be a ship's bridge, looking calm despite facing a force that should have terrified her. Fleet Commander Al, she said, I'm Commander Sarah of the Terra Defense Force. You're in human space without permission. Please withdraw your forces. Al almost laughed. Human, you have lost this battle before it began. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. That's not going to happen, replied. Last chance, leave our system peacefully. You have 200 primitive ships against my 300 advanced warships. Your defeat is certain. His expression didn't change. Your intelligence was wrong about a lot of things. It's about to be wrong about this too. The transmission ended. Al turned to his weapons officer. Target their mining stations on the Jupiter moons. Destroy them. When the humans see their infrastructure burning, they'll surrender quickly enough. Yes, sir, firing now. Beams of energy lanced out from the hegemony ships toward the industrial facilities around Jupiter. This was the standard opening move. Destroy something valuable but not critical. Show your power. Wait for panic and surrender. But instead of surrender, something else happened. "Sir," the tactical officer shouted, "the human ships are attacking." On the display screens, the scattered human fleet suddenly moved with purpose, but they didn't attack like any military force Al had ever seen. Some human ships flew straight at the hegemony vessels, firing everything they had. Others used the debris from the destroyed stations as cover, appearing suddenly to strike and then vanish again. A few actually rammed damaged hegemony ships at full speed, their crews apparently willing to die to take enemies with them. "What are they doing?" Al demanded. "This isn't how space combat works." But the humans weren't following traditional space combat rules. They had studied every hegemony battle from the captured databases, and they knew the aliens always fought the same way. Precise formations, overwhelming firepower, expect surrender when superiority was proven. The humans fought differently. They used tricks the hegemony had never seen. Some ships pretended to be disabled, then opened fire when hegemony vessels came close to finish them off. Others released clouds of debris that disrupted hegemony sensors. Human fighters performed maneuvers that should have killed their pilots but somehow didn't. "Sir, the humans are using some kind of computer virus," the tactical officer reported. "It's attacking our navigation systems through our own communications network." "How is that possible?" "They must have planted it when their ambassador visited their station. It's spreading through our fleet network." Al stared at his displays in growing alarm. 20 hegemony ships had been destroyed or disabled in the first hour of fighting. That was supposed to be impossible. The humans should have been swept aside in minutes. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving signals from damaged hegemony ships. The humans are. They're offering medical aid to our wounded." "What?" "They're broadcasting medical assistance offers on our emergency frequencies. They want to help our injured crews." Al had never heard of such a thing. In hegemony doctrine, you fought until one side was completely defeated. Mercy during battle was unknown. But the strangest thing was that some human ships were actually rescuing hegemony survivors from destroyed vessels, even while the battle continued around them. "This is madness," Al muttered. "They fight us and save us at the same time." The battle continued for hours instead of minutes. Human ships that should have been easy targets proved surprisingly tough and clever. When hegemony forces tried their standard encirclement tactics, humans slipped through gaps that shouldn't have existed. When aliens attempted to use superior firepower, humans hid behind asteroids and struck from unexpected angles. But the most shocking moment came when a group of human ships actually boarded a hegemony cruiser. Instead of destroying it, they captured it intact, along with its crew and all its technology. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost 60 ships. The humans have lost maybe 40. These numbers, they're impossible." Al stared at his displays, watching human ships continue to dart and weave through his formations like insects that refused to die. His superior force was being systematically dismantled by inferior technology guided by tactics he couldn't understand. "Commander," his second officer said quietly, "perhaps we should consider withdrawal. We could return with a larger force." "We don't withdraw," Al snapped. "The hegemony has never retreated from primitive species." But even as he said it, he knew something was wrong. These humans weren't fighting like a primitive species. They fought like they had been at war their entire existence. Every move showed experience with violence that the peaceful hegemony simply didn't possess. Another transmission came from the human commander, appeared on screen again, but now there was something different in her eyes, something that made Al uncomfortable. "Fleet Commander," she said, "you've lost enough ships. Surrender now and we'll guarantee the safety of your crews." You're offering us surrender terms. Your people are dying for nothing. End this." Al looked around his bridge. Half his screens showed red warning lights. Reports of damage flooded in from across his fleet. In 6 hours of fighting, his superior force had been reduced to barely half strength. "How?" he asked. "How are you doing this?" His expression softened slightly. "We've been fighting wars longer than your species has existed. This is what we do." For the first time in his career, Fleet Commander Al gave an order he had never imagined speaking. "All ships withdraw to safe distance. Cease fire." As the surviving hegemony vessels limped away from the battlefield, human ships moved among the wreckage, rescuing survivors from both sides. Al watched in amazement as human medical teams worked to save hegemony, wounded with the same care they showed their own injured. "Prepare a message for High Command," he told his communications officer. Tell them we need more ships, many more ships." "How many, sir?" Al studied the tactical displays one more time, watching human ships that moved like nothing he had ever seen, crewed by beings who fought with a skill and determination that explanation. "All of them," he said quietly. "Send them all." War Marshal Or stood before the hegemony high command, his face darker than usual. The holographic reports floating around him told a story that seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. "The humans destroyed or disabled 180 ships," he reported. "Al barely escaped with half his fleet." Ancient leaned forward on his platform. "How many human ships did we destroy?" 74 confirmed kills, Or replied. "But sir, they rescued our survivors, every single one. Even while fighting us, they were saving our people." Silence filled the vast chamber. In 10,000 years of galactic rule, no enemy had ever shown mercy to hegemony forces. "It changes nothing," declared Fleet Admiral. "We simply need more ships. Overwhelm them with numbers they cannot match." "How many ships?" asked Ancient. 1,200 vessels, announced. "The largest pacification fleet in hegemony history. No species has ever withstood such force." War Marshal Or felt obligated to voice his concerns. "Ancient One, these humans fight unlike anyone we have ever faced. They use tactics that our doctrine doesn't account for. Perhaps we should study them more before." "Enough," Ancient interrupted. "They are still a single-world species. Numbers will prevail." The order went out across the galaxy. 1,200 of the most advanced warships in known space began moving toward human space. It would take weeks for them all to gather, but when they arrived, no force in the galaxy should be able to stop them. But while the hegemony prepared their massive fleet, the humans were doing something that would change everything. Commander stood in the war room aboard the mobile command ship Indomitable, studying star charts that showed the entire hegemony territory. Around her, human officers worked at stations filled with captured alien technology. "Status report on the counter-strikes," she asked. Admiral Torres smiled grimly. "All targets hit successfully. The supply depot is destroyed. The shipyard is offline. And the communications relay at Ra is completely gone." After the first battle, humans had done something that shocked the hegemony even more than their defensive tactics. They had attacked back. Human ships, moving faster and more quietly than hegemony forces thought possible, had struck deep into alien territory. They didn't target civilians or colonies, but focused on military infrastructure that supported the war effort. "What about the captured technology?" asked. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the head scientist aboard the Indomitable, activated a display showing new human ship designs. "We've integrated hegemony shield technology into our vessels. We've also improved their weapons by about 40% and their engines by 60%. This was another thing that amazed captured hegemony officers. Humans took alien technology and made it better within days. Their engineers seemed to understand advanced science instinctively and improve on designs that had taken other species centuries to develop." "Any response from our new allies?" asked. Director activated the communication systems. "Growing every day. 47 species have now made secret contact with us. The Federation has offered to share intelligence about hegemony fleet movements. The clans are willing to provide safe harbors for our ships. But the most important development was something else entirely. Across the galaxy, species that had been forced into the hegemony centuries ago were watching the humans fight, and they were remembering what freedom looked like. "Show them the broadcast," ordered. The main screen filled with a transmission that had been sent to every world in hegemony space. Commander appeared, but she wasn't speaking to the hegemony leadership. She was speaking directly to the people. "Citizens of the galaxy," her image said, "we are the humans of Earth. We didn't choose this war, but we will finish it. We're not fighting to conquer you. We're fighting to free you." The camera pulled back to show the bridge of the Indomitable, where humans worked alongside rescued aliens from a dozen different species. "Look at our ship," continued. "Humans and others working together as equals. No one rules over anyone else. No one forces others to obey. This is what freedom looks like." The broadcast showed human colonies where alien refugees lived safely. Human hospitals treating wounded hegemony soldiers with the same care as human injured, and human teachers helping alien children learn. "They tell you that order requires submission," his voice continued. "We believe that real order comes from cooperation. Real strength comes from choice, not force. Real peace comes from justice, not fear." The transmission had spread across the galaxy despite hegemony attempts to block it. On world after world, people watched and wondered if there might be another way to live. But the hegemony leadership wasn't going to give up easily. Ancient himself took command of the massive fleet gathering at the edge of human space. 1,200 ships, he announced to his commanders, led by the ancient dreadnoughts that cracked the shields of these humans will learn that some forces cannot be resisted. The fleet that assembled was truly massive. Ships that stretched for miles through space, weapons that could destroy moons, shields that could withstand the explosion of stars. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. But as they prepared to move toward Earth, something unexpected happened. "Ancient One," reported Fleet Admiral, "we're receiving reports of rebellion across 17 systems. The clans have declared independence. The Federation is withdrawing from hegemony space. The Assembly is refusing to provide troops." Ancient's ancient face showed the first signs of concern. "How many systems are in rebellion?" 43 and growing, sir. The human broadcasts are spreading faster than we can stop them." On his command ship, Ancient activated a galaxy-wide communication system that had not been used in 1,000 years. His image appeared on every hegemony world at once. "People of the galaxy," his ancient voice echoed across space, "you have been deceived by human lies. They promise freedom, but they bring only chaos. Return to your duties and this rebellion will be forgiven." But his words seemed to have the opposite effect. More systems declared independence. More species demanded their freedom. The galaxy that had been peaceful under hegemony rule for 10,000 years was suddenly filled with the sounds of revolution. "Sir," Admiral reported, "the humans are broadcasting a response to your message." Commander appeared on screens across the galaxy once more. "Ancient speaks of chaos and lies, but which of us rescues the wounded from both sides? Which of us offers mercy to our enemies? Which of us treats all people as equals?" She gestured to the displays behind her, showing the massive hegemony fleet approaching human space. "You bring 1,200 ships to destroy one world that asked only to be left alone. We will meet your fleet with everything we have, knowing that we may not survive, but we would rather die free than live as slaves." The broadcast ended, but its effect continued to spread across the galaxy. Species that had submitted to hegemony rule for centuries were suddenly asking themselves why they had accepted chains in exchange for peace. As the massive alien fleet entered the outer edges of the Sol system, they found a sight that would have been impossible just months before. Hundreds of human ships waited for them, but they were not alone. Ships from the Federation flew alongside them. Clan vessels took positions in the human formations. Representatives from 47 different species had come to fight beside the humans for freedom. Ancient stared at his displays in growing anger. Impossible. They are turning the galaxy against us. Orders, Ancient One? Asked Admiral. The ancient ruler of the galaxy looked at the mixed fleet arrayed against him. Humans who fought like no one he had ever faced, allied with species that should have been loyal to hegemony rule for another 1,000 years. Destroy them all, he commanded. If the galaxy chooses chaos over order, then let them learn the price of defiance. The final battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin. The final battle began at the edge of Earth's solar system, where 1,200 hegemony warships faced a mixed fleet of barely 400 vessels. The odds seemed impossible, but Commander stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and felt no fear. All ships, this is, she broadcast to the Allied fleet. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for the freedom of every species in this galaxy. Remember, we're not here to conquer, we're here to liberate. Ancient commanded the hegemony fleet from his massive dreadnought, a ship the size of a small city. Around him, the largest military force in galactic history prepared to end the human rebellion once and for all. Begin the assault, he commanded. Target the human command ship first, end their leadership, and the rest will surrender. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of ships clashed in the darkness of space, their weapons lighting up the void like artificial stars. But from the very beginning, something was different about this fight. The human ships and their allies didn't try to meet the hegemony force head-on. Instead, they scattered into small groups, using hit-and-run tactics that confused the orderly hegemony formations. Human vessels appeared from behind asteroids, struck hard, and vanished before return fire could reach them. But Ancient had prepared for human tricks this time. Release the planet-killer weapons, he ordered. From deep within his dreadnought, massive devices emerged that had not been used for thousands of years. Weapons designed to crack worlds in half, unleashing the power of collapsing stars. They were forbidden by every galactic treaty, but Ancient no longer cared about rules. Target Earth, he commanded. If these humans want to die for their freedom, let us grant their wish completely. The planet-killer weapons began charging, building up energy that would destroy humanities in a single devastating blast. But as the ancient devices powered up, something unexpected happened across the galaxy. On 100 worlds, hegemony soldiers put down their weapons and refused to fight. The sight of planet-killer weapons being prepared against a species whose only crime was asking to be free was too much for many to accept. "Sir," reported Admiral, "we're receiving surrender notifications from 63 hegemony ships. Their crews are abandoning their posts." Ancient stared at the reports in disbelief. Impossible. The hegemony has maintained loyalty for 10,000 years. "The human broadcasts have reached every corner of the galaxy," explained. "Many of our people are questioning whether this war is just." But the ancient ruler pressed on. "Then we will finish this with loyal ships alone. Fire the planet killers." The massive weapons discharged their terrible energy toward Earth, beams of destruction that could crack continents. But as they fired, something else happened that Ancient had not expected. Human ships threw themselves directly into the path of the planet-killer beams. Ship after ship sacrificed itself to protect their crews dying so that billions could live. "They're blocking the weapons with their own bodies," Admiral said in amazement. "No species has ever done such a thing." Commander watched from her bridge as human vessels disappeared in blasts of light, their crews making the ultimate sacrifice. But each ship that died weakened the planet-killer beams just a little more. "All remaining ships, final attack," she broadcast. "For every human who has died today, for every alien who dreams of freedom, end this now." The surviving Allied fleet struck the hegemony forces with desperate fury. Human ships that should have been destroyed hours ago continued to fight with damaged weapons and failing engines. Allied vessels from a dozen species fought beside them, united by a dream of freedom that had seemed impossible just months before. In the chaos of the final battle, something remarkable happened. A group of human Marines actually managed to board Ancient's massive dreadnought. Led by General, they fought their way through corridors built for beings twice their size, determined to end the war at its source. Ancient himself met them in his command chamber, wielding weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But the old alien, for all his power and experience, had never faced anything like human soldiers fighting for their freedom. The battle was brief but decisive. Ancient fell, and with him, 10,000 years of unchallenged hegemony rule came to an end. "This is Commander to all ships," the human leader broadcast across the battlefield. "Ancient has been captured alive. All hegemony forces stand down immediately. The war is over." Across the debris-filled space around Earth, hegemony ships powered down their weapons. Some surrendered willingly, their crews relieved that the fighting was finally done. Others fought until the very end, but they were overwhelmed by the combined human and allied forces. As the last shots were fired, Commander stood on her damaged bridge and looked out at a galaxy that would never be the same again. The aftermath of the war was unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. Instead of conquest and subjugation, humanity offered something entirely new. 6 months after the battle, representatives from over 300 species gathered on a space station orbiting Earth. They came to sign the Terra Accords, a new set of galactic laws based on principles the universe had never seen before. Commander, now promoted to Admiral, stood before the assembly. Behind her, the flags of hundreds of worlds flew together as equals. "The old hegemony ruled through fear," she said to the gathered representatives. "They demanded submission and called it order. We offer something different." The Terra Accords were simple but revolutionary. No species could rule over another. All worlds had the right to choose their own government. Disputes would be settled by discussion and negotiation, not force. Military power would exist only to defend, never to conquer. "But what if someone breaks these rules?" asked a representative from the former hegemony worlds. Admiral smiled. "Then the rest of us will remind them why freedom is worth fighting for." The new galactic government was unlike anything that had existed before. There was no emperor, no high command, no ruling species. Instead, there was a council where every world had a voice, and decisions were made by agreement rather than force. Some species struggled with the concept at first. After thousands of years of being told what to do, the idea of making their own choices was frightening. But humans helped them learn, teaching former hegemony worlds how to govern themselves and resolve conflicts peacefully. The war had cost humanity dearly, hundreds of ships destroyed, thousands of lives lost, but it had given the galaxy something precious in return: hope. Ancient, now a prisoner but treated with dignity, was given the chance to speak at the signing ceremony. The old alien looked out at the assembly with eyes that had seen the rise and fall of empires. "I do not understand you humans," he said quietly. "You could have taken my empire and ruled as we did. Instead, you give power away freely. Why?" Admiral looked at the former emperor with something like pity. "Because power that's taken by force is never really power at all. It's just fear wearing a crown." As the ceremony concluded and representatives from across the galaxy signed the Terra Accords, Admiral received a message from Earth. Ambassador Ra, the same diplomat who had delivered the original ultimatum, now worked alongside human officials to help former hegemony worlds transition to freedom. "Admiral," Ross said in the message, "I wanted to thank you. When I first came to your world, I thought you were primitive and foolish. I was wrong. You showed us something we had forgotten in 10,000 years of rule." "What was that?" asked. "That strength without justice is just tyranny, and that real peace can only come from choice, not force." Years later, when historians would write about the war that changed the galaxy, they would struggle to understand how humanity had succeeded where so many others had failed. The answer was simpler than they thought. Humans didn't win because they were stronger or smarter or more advanced than their enemies. They won because they offered something the galaxy had never seen: leadership without domination, strength without oppression, order without tyranny. They didn't conquer the galaxy, they taught it how to be free. Admiral often returned to Earth, to the memorial built for those who died in the war. The inscription, written in every language spoken in the galaxy, was simple: "They died so that others might choose how to live." But perhaps the best measure of humanity's success was something much simpler. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, children grew up learning that freedom was not a gift to be granted by rulers, but a right that belonged to every thinking being in the universe. And when those children faced their own challenges in the years to come, they remembered the lesson that humanity had taught the galaxy: that no one has the right to rule over others without their consent, and that any people brave enough to fight for their freedom will never fight alone. The galaxy had learned humanity's rules at last, and those rules had set everyone free.